2020 League of Legends has begun, which means your dads are here to talk about it, to talk about 100 Thieves, what we're doing to win the split, go to Worlds, win everything. Psych.
It's going exactly as planned. Cole, we got him right where we want him.
This is exactly what we anticipated. Welcome, everybody. It's 100 Talk. I'm Cole. That's Jordan. I'll use our names because guess what? It's the first show in a while. And it's the first show of the new split officially, which means that there might be some people, believe it or not, who are not familiar with us.
It's possible, Cole.
If you are a part of the 99.9% of the population of the United States who has no clue who we are, welcome. This is 100 Talk. We are not professional League of Legends analysts. We are amateur 100 Thieves fans.
We're professional 100 Thieves fans, Cole.
If we're being particular, do we? Well, I guess actually we do get some Twitch sub money, so I guess we are semi-professional 100 Thieves fans. About as professional as you'll get, we'll say.
Rank amateur League of Legends players, analysts. This ain't that stream. You're in the wrong place if you want to know how to make it to Diamond this season. We have some people in the chat who could help you with that, but it ain't us.
But if you want to be a Diamond 100 Thieves fan, this is an absolute must.
It is. It is. The experts all agree, Cole. You've got to be here if you want to consider yourself a true fan.
Yes, well,
and we do.
We do. And chat, we consider you true fans as well. Look, guys, not going to sugarcoat this one. It was a weird weekend. It was a totally weird weekend. We are
mixed
1-1.
Emotions. Yeah.
Somehow.
High blood pressure, part of the experience. That was there.
A lot of familiar things from the players who are on the Rift to the playing that's on the Rift. There's a lot. There's a lot that's reminding me of past 100 Thieves moments. And as Pat Mawini in chat says, feels like an O2. That to me most certainly does.
Which I'm almost positive is not the first time we've said exactly that too, right? Like there have been many games where we've left being like, I mean, the history will show that we won that game, but that's about it.
It might as well be an unofficial slogan for us now.
That feels like an O2.
Feels like an O2. Well, hey, here's what we're gonna do tonight. We'll talk about the games to start with. And then we've got some general questions and thoughts about the team. If we have time, we'll talk about some of the 100 Thieves happenings that are going on right now. And along the way, we'll try and we collected some listener takes and questions from you guys on Twitter and on Discord. So along the way, we'll try and answer those as well as time permits and as the subject matter permits as well.
Yeah. Yeah. As always, listeners come in with the insightful takes, the hot takes, the good stuff. So yeah, if we have time, I'd like to get to that. Always enjoy hearing what you all have to say, especially when it comes to the kickoff of a new season, because there's plenty to talk about, plenty to think about, plenty to worry about. We'll see.
Thou hast said
the W word.
Well, let's go. Let's not delay this any longer. Fortunately, the first game of the weekend and the first game of the split ended up in a big fat dub.
It did.
Look, there's a saying by a great American philosopher named Vin Diesel said, "It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning is winning."
That's right. That's true in every situation.
I'm using that as a comfort phrase right now.
Yep.
Because the winning in this example was basically a shouldn't have happened elder steal, shall we say.
I mean, credit where credit's due, Cole. Players on our team, 100 Thieves, made plays that allowed them to steal the elder and turn that game around. No one else did that. So it is to their credit. It was a long shot, and it was a Hail Mary.
Sometimes
football,
Hail Marys
Cole,
work. Yeah.
Sometimes Hail Marys work, and you get the dub when they do. So, yeah, I mean, the reality is we're 1-1. right? And TSM is 0-2. TL is 1-1. It's it's going to be an interesting season. It's going to be an interesting split. I think a lot of the power rankings so far, people are
Throw them out the window.
People are getting a little sweaty already. Dig, that the perennial powerhouse Dig, Worlds, Dig, 2-0, baby. So yeah, it's weird, Cole. There's a lot of weird stuff happening. We very easily could have been 0-2 on the weekend. And I think that this is my guess is this is a split where every win will count. So it's possible that we'll be replaying the footage of this Elder Steel come playoff time and saying like that was the difference. It came down to that play. Usually you don't start your season with that play, but we did.
Yeah. Now, when you say the split will come down to this, of course you mean just getting to playoffs, because as we know, spring split is largely meaningless. Thank you, Riot. But at least it affords us an opportunity to do things to test our roster.
You still hang a banner in the rafters, I think. I don't think they nerfed spring that hard. Although it will feel a little bit like an asterisk, I feel like.
Yeah.
Just because they've really taken a lot out of it. But
well, look, let's talk about some of the things that happened in this game, because as I was eagerly preparing, I was like, get my notes out. Can't believe it's finally time for LCS. I'm gonna make my little notes page for the show and get all excited. And the very first thing I write when this game begins, for some reason, double warded red buff brush and still lost both of the wards. Yikes. I don't know if you saw that, but we threw 2 wards down in that bush. I don't think that's what we meant to do, but it is what we do. And then that was only a symbolic representation of what was to come during that early game.
Yes.
When Meteos went buffless. He was fully clothed, not in the buff at all.
Cole, it had echoes of that game we played against Xmithy, where something happened to him. And he didn't hit level. I swear he didn't hit level 2 until like 6 minutes into the game. It was about as rough a start as you can get. He got chased out. He got sent back to base. He had basically no camps. It was a rough start. And one important thing, he was sent back before he could buy boots, right? So he has basically just a completely dead rune predator that's doing him nothing. So that was rough. That was a rough start, and it was a foreshadowing of what was to come in the rest of the game, because it felt like we were playing from behind, literally from that moment. Where so again, credit to closer, like his aggressive jungle call, which was a risk, really paid off there, and 99 times out of 100 gets them that win, but not this time.
Yeah, I mean, you said it felt like we were behind. I mean, I think we can say with confidence we just were behind for that game. The second glorious note that I had from this game was after, Meteos almost gets soloed out at 225 into the game, which, and he burned his flash in the process. And I said, 10th place, here we come. The fatalist in me is thinking about that.
Right, right.
But look, obviously that start was not what we wanted. But the other thing that was very apparent early on to me was that Ryoma, looked very nervous in his lane, and he was missing some what I would consider to be fairly easy CS.
Yeah,
and to me, it felt like this guy is playing nervous, and he's not. I don't know what the source of that is. Like, Sure, there are nerves from playing in your first game in a major region and in a new region on a new team, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But man, didn't someone talk him down and constantly be like, "Look, we got this. You're good. We got your back." Yeah, I mean, you remember what we did when Saligo made his debut? It was like he got the extra support from the roams and everything, and like jungler was hanging around. Like we need to tell him to calm down a little bit. And honestly, it was both games really where this was going on. But yeah, just looking really, really rough early on, and filled my belly with a sinking feeling.
It's interesting because I was definitely noticing that his CS was shaky. Like I think he missed a cannon. Like I think I watched him miss a cannon, which everybody knows is an instant tilter. Um, he brought it back together. I feel like, and we can talk more about this.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he managed to pull it together. And I think when you think about the way you play with somebody, so here, I'm going to disagree with you on this. We saw that the approach we took with Saligo was it was kind of like babysit mid. And I know that sounds really bad, but it's kind of what it was, right? Like amazing hovered a lot. Aftermood just happened to be roaming up at different times to make sure that it was going okay. Right. It was very much like hey guys, let's just make sure that we don't get blown up in mid. Okay. Like everybody agree? Yeah. I think we did that because we knew one that he was less likely to be able to succeed. Then I'd say we're feeling like our confidence overall in Saligo is just lower than it is in Ryoma.
Sure.
And if you're gonna go with somebody long term, right? Like right now, game 1, week 1, our thought is if we make it to Worlds, Ryoma is our starter. And I think that if that's the mindset you have of a player, you can't get into the habit of giving them more support than they can rely on having when you're operating at full capacity, right? So it's kind of like, do you start him with training wheels and then he learns to ride his bike sideways? Or do you just say like, ride, man? And if you fall, yeah, that'll hurt, but we'll get back up and we'll keep riding. And I think I'm in the latter camp of play your game, like find your strategy, play your strategy. If your strategy is not to pour resources into mid lane, then don't do it. Don't get him used to having people there to back him up if he gets too aggressive in lane, if he oversteps, if he's playing without a flash and he's not tracking the jungler. I think you gotta let the guy succeed or fail. And what I was encouraged by is what we started this with is I think he managed to have a pretty good game. Like I think he did his job well on Zoe, and kept it together.
Yeah, Zoe, which can be a rough pick into LeBlanc. I agree on the whole that he was able to keep things together pretty well, especially because he was someone who didn't get a lot of help during this game. Definitely not during the second game, which we'll talk about that. So yeah, it was kind of that very familiar bend don't break mid lane situation that we're putting him into, which honestly I think the fans are, and we'll, again, this is something that we will for sure talk about later in greater detail, but I think fans right now are calling for more of like let's set this guy free and see what he does. I just don't think the game circumstances really allowed for that in this game,
Yep.
So I'm not really feeling too bad about that portion of it because you still have to play the game you drafted into and the game that's unfolding in front of you. So you can't just like run wild on the Rift the whole time and expect good results.
Yeah.
So
and I mean, he did have like, it's not worth highlighting specific plays, but there were a couple plays where he ripped off a kill, right? I think there was one where he caught somebody with a long range Q that nobody thought was coming. There was one where he jumped forward pretty aggressively and I think hit a sleepy trouble bubble. So he's like, there were echoes there of what we know he can do and the style he plays. And I think that's, for me, I find some reassurance in that, knowing that he's a variable speed player, right? It's not turbo int if we're behind, because we're going in, boys. It's fight o'clock, to quote a friend. So I think it was a good game where he showed some restraint on a champion while still using the tools in the kit to actually make some good plays.
Well, the thing is, my counter to this is that unfortunately it was like we didn't have any agency on the map for a very, very long time. So we weren't going out there and moving around and say, okay, this is definitely the play we're making and let's set up for this. It was very reactive play. And I think that showed with how things unfolded. We saw things like the Drake count, which was 0-3, I think.
4.
04. Yeah, I think it even got to, it was 04 before we even got one. Well, we got Elder, but so there's that. There was they sent Golden Glue down into bot lane kind of early, and he was just left to his own devices basically. Like he was just down there collecting farm and collecting plates, like just kind of hanging out, and that was weird to see. He had like 1,200 gold lead over Ryoma at 14 minutes into the game. You know, like that's, I think of things in ADC terms because I'm like, oh, that's a zeal item, or you know.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, he just like he wasn't in a position to actively do anything, and we tried to set up around Rift Herald, and we had a messy fight that we actually ended up winning early on around Rift Herald, which was okay, but it was just we weren't proactively setting up anything really on the map.
Yep.
And it was it to the point where it felt like we had made a conscious decision, like, let's not worry about the dragons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which
and that's something we've got to talk about. And the Azale and Flowers talked about on the second cast of the second game, of this idea that there's a strategy out there that you concede the first 2 Drakes. I think we can save that for a general conversation, because in this game, I think it was a lot more that we, with Meteos starting essentially at an incredible disadvantage, we were playing from behind the entire game, and we didn't have the ability to, set the pace. We didn't have the ability to force them to react to us. We were always reacting to them.
Yeah.
And that's why they were able to, they did a good job of forcing us to react elsewhere on the map, right? And then they can just walk in and get a free Baron. I don't think there were, or a free Drake. I don't know that there was a contested Drake. Like, I'd have to go back and look, but it didn't feel like there was one of the Drakes that we were able to fully commit to a fight on, which is just a horrible place to find yourself in, because even if that gold number stays close, it's just a clock ticking until they get the soul, and until suddenly everybody's got a mini Ludens, and you are, what's the gold value of that, right? Thousands and thousands, I'd say. So it was a bad feeling, and we couldn't stop them.
Yeah. Now, their chat's going off on this, and this has been a topic that's been discussed like a whole lot at the beginning of this year, which is, the philosophy behind Drakes. Mm-hmm. So, the buff that come from your dragons has been reduced.
Right.
And all of the stats that you get, it's like less, right? And so the obvious thing is, well, you're setting it up for the soul, which should be like a game winning objective. So when you get that 4th one, then it's when you really pop off. So the first 3 are not necessarily about the stats. It's more about the position that you put the other team in. You forcing them to have to contest you for the later dragons.
Totally.
Right? And so the thought is among some people that if we don't go in on getting those dragons and focus instead on map pressure elsewhere, on getting Rift Herald, on getting turret plates, then the gold that you get early on is worth more, because you're able to turn that into a snowballed lead.
Yep.
Man, here's what I'll say on that. First of all, Drakes still buff you. Let's not forget, Drakes still buff you. It's not as strong, but they still buff you. And then also, it's so early. We don't know how this really happens.
Yeah.
This is all just theorizing from that perspective. You know what I mean? So don't be so quick to conclude that trade is always worth it. We don't know how it plays out yet.
Yeah. And based on a sample set of 2, I'd say it's absolutely not worth it. It's absolutely not worth it. Here's what happened. And I'm going to blur the lines a little bit. But if you're playing against a team, so let's say you give first 2 Drakes, right? Just give them. And yeah, they can busy themselves with Drake, whatever. We don't care. It's minor stat buff. We'll take Rift. We'll collect plates. We'll get ahead in lane. We'll apply pressure elsewhere, right? And by the time the meaningful Drakes get here, we're going to stomp them. That's the idea. And it feels like, I don't know if that's actually what our strategy was, but if that's a strategy out there, I'm going to tell you got to stop it now. And the reason is, all you got to do is look at game 2. If you get a player like Jiizuke on a champion like LeBlanc, if he finds one player and even and hits them at all, you are suddenly at a 4.5 or 4 1/3 champion at best to 5. So if you are now, it's Drake 3, Drake 4, and you have to fight, there's a very good chance you're going to go into those fights at a man disadvantage, and he did this every time. There was not a single fight that we went into on even power, because he would over the wall, and sometimes he would actually, I think he blew a couple people up just straight away. So we had 4 people. You can't win those fights. And especially because gold was dead even, right? We didn't have a big advantage. It's not like we had, even with Ssumday getting strong like he does, it wasn't enough. He can't do it on his own. especially if you get a champion like Mordekaiser and you just send Ssumday to the spooky place for 7 seconds. That's as long as it takes you to take a Drake. So I am firmly in the camp of you got to cut that out. You have to play for Drakes. If for no other reason, then all you need is one kind of lucky Drake, and then you've got them on death's door, right? Because if you get the soul, that's a game changer.
Yeah. And it's the other thing is you're just naturally playing against your own odds, because look, even if you're snowballing the game so well, but you still have to address this soul thing, you still have to win that fight. And not only that, but if you win that fight, you have to win the next one, and then you have to win the next one.
Right.
And then you have to win the next one to hold those things off. Now, obviously the game is, could very well end at that point, but the point is it's not like it's a sure thing that you're going to be winning. And the later you go in the game, the stronger everybody else is. So your advantage might disappear. So I don't know. I'm out on this. I don't want to make a ruling on where I stand with this, but definitely is going to be a consider a variety of factors thing, and just don't be so quick to assume that trade is always worth it, especially like you pointed out, when they have a comp that's able to alter that fight before it even happens.
Yeah. So, and I'd say at the very least, you should play Drakes like you always have, which is it's a neutral objective and you want to get neutral objectives, right? That feels like the bare minimum investment. And I think for some of these, now again, circumstances were what they were, and I think in some of these situations we weren't able to put up a real fight. It's a fight we shouldn't have taken, so we didn't.
Yeah,
that makes sense. But moving forward, I hope that this is not a strategy of ours, because I'm not convinced that it's actually a good one.
Yeah, and gosh, again, I should have done this at the beginning of the pod, and it should also be obvious, but I'm just going to say it in case it's not obvious. We played 2 games. There's no sample size worth making any legitimate judgments here, but we're just putting these things out there so when we revisit them, we can have some foundation to build on. Yeah. But yeah, for sure, that'll be something that I'm watching. Like, I would be shocked if dragons weren't a high priority for us coming into week 2.
Yeah. We got to get some dragons. We're like 0-8.
Yeah.
We got to get some.
So in this instance, they actually got Infernal Soul on us, which probably should have ended the game. And then, of course, the thing that we'll always talk about, and this honestly we may look back at this and say this was the best play of the year for 100 Thieves. We got it in game 1, which was the Elder Steel that came from Meteos. Now, he got chunked way, 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 way down. I don't know who did it.
I'm guessing
might have been Jiizuke, or excuse me, it might have been
Jiizuke.
No, that was Jiizuke was game 2. This was
sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, he was basically out. He had like 100 HP left and got pushed away from the fight, but the fight had to happen no matter what, because whoever got Elder Drake was going to win that game.
Yeah.
And somehow Meteos, after getting chunked, instead of just backing, decided to hang around and see what developed. And actually a couple of really nice ult layerings happened that really chunked everybody out. Yeah. Meteos had time to dive into the pit, get a smite, and then a Q off, a Gragas Q, and the Q somehow took down the Elder Dragon. So he got the steal, and then we cleaned up on the fight as well. So that that fight was all it took for us to win the entire game after everything that had happened to us up to that point. Them with the Infernal Soul, them pushing us around the map, ended up really just pivoting on that one fight. And it went in our favor when it shouldn't have.
Right.
So if you're asking me, it's like it's a win, and we checked the W on the stat sheet, but man, it doesn't feel like that at all.
Yeah. No, I agree. Steel plays are always this way, right? There's never an easy steal. Sometimes there are easy steal plays. Very rarely do you get a steal play where it's like, it wasn't a coin flip. This is a coin flip. Stunt had an amazing engage there right around the time when Meteos was coming back in. So acknowledge that. Kudos to Stunt. Flowers had an amazing call. Fire your lasers. That will
that's right.
That was so good. Flowers never disappoints, and he still doesn't.
Shout out Kevin Flowers. Shout out Mama Flowers.
The whole crew, 100 Thieves fans. So yeah, it's what I wanted to say on this is, and in general, this game felt a lot like we had people playing the roles that we expect them to play in these games. Meteos getting chunked out to basically 100 HP, hanging around, like you said. So many people would have said, well, that fight's chalked. I'm Gragas. What am I going to do? You know, like I don't have a lot of kind of assassin ability where I can pop in with 100 HP and delete somebody. So he walked around and he thought about it and he didn't just back. A less veteran player doesn't do that. We brought him in because he's that veteran player, right? That's a big part of it. At least there's other reasons. That's not a play that a rookie makes.
Yeah,
not going to happen. Stunt, something we talked about with Stunt, and just to keep it brief, we said his job is to let Cody activate and be the hyper carry. And I feel like he did in this game. I think he did a good job. Though if we get to the Elder Steel and we're so far behind that it doesn't really matter, right? If we get destroyed in team fights anyway, that play doesn't count. It's a delay. So, the fact that we were pretty close in gold, the fact that our players were kind of keeping pace is huge. And you don't get that if Stunt is inting, right? Like let's remember these things, because these are what we said we would judge people by. And this, while the game was certainly a toss up, my sense is people did a pretty good job at doing their job.
Yeah, and one thing, so I had trouble with this because when I was watching the guys play, Meteos, his early jungle situation was just unfortunate. in this game in particular, game 2 maybe a little different, but I didn't feel like he played that poorly. I thought he looked a little bit out of sorts, but given the early game, that made sense. Looking at everybody else's performance, like okay, we're actually all right. We're pretty good. They're doing fine, and if you look at them individually like that, the only one that bothered me was kind of Stunt. He had 6 deaths during this game, a couple of them at key times where he would give away. Like, for instance, when they got Infernal Soul, it's because Stunt had pushed up too far and got caught out, and he was picked off cleanly, and so they got soul off of that. Like, that was my only thing that I was watching for, is like, we really need to get those deaths down. Because you look at the deaths across the board on everybody else, Ssumday 2, Meteos 2, Ryoma 1, Cody Sun 1. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we just had one person kind of feeding. Other than that, yeah, I kind of buy that reasoning with these guys. And I like what you pointed out, that we're set up to judge people in a different way during this split, which is a long-term view of, like, not necessarily how they are now, but how they're fitting and how they're gelling, and then what the ceiling is going forward. So yeah, we're judging people on, attitude and play style as much as what the stat sheets say.
Yeah.
So that's fair. Unfortunately, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I would agree in general on Stunt. I feel like the area that for me seemed to be the thing he needs the most work on from both games is playmaking. And there are a couple where he just missed, like on Rakan, just missed some key skills that he needed to land to get a play going. So he made the good play on Elder, but overall, I'd say that just feels like there is a gap there, right? Especially if you look at somebody like Aframo, who is very, very good at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, do you have any other general thoughts on game 1 before we jump into game 2?
I don't.
Look at this, man. We're back to a regular podcast, and the time is just flying. We're already 30 minutes into this thing.
Well, the good news is we didn't spend 50 minutes on that, and I have to do the next 6 topics in 10 minutes.
Yeah. All right. So going into this game, it was weird. We got through draft, and other than seeing LeBlanc go to the other side again, I didn't have any thoughts on this draft. I was like, all right, this is fine. I think this looks fine. Tom Kench may make some, global map plays. We'll look out for that. That's basically all I had on the draft. And interestingly enough, I'm not fitting in with the rest of the 100 Thieves fans, because the Reddit reaction seemed to be that we should have created an earlier pick for Ryoma. So Rise was the last pick.
Yeah. Yep.
And we saved that until the very end instead of, prioritizing something to grab for him. And that didn't sit well with a lot of people. Where do you fall on that?
I mean, there are two schools of thought, right? I think this is not just me misreading a situation. I think there's legitimately two ways to look at a draft. You either first pick somebody to get them priority. Like, say you're playing against FlyQuest and they forget to ban Riven. You pick Riven first. That's your first pick. Not because the player needs that champion to do well, but because you win the game when you get it. So it's done. The rest of it doesn't really matter. With last pick, every champion that is going to play in the game. You can pick the champion that you feel works the best in that of what's left. So you run the risk of other champions being picked or banned away. But there's also some comfort in, exactly what you're getting, right? You have 30 seconds to sit there and talk about as a team, what are we going to go with? What do you guys think? And for Ryoma to say, you know what, I feel really good about Rise. Let me get Rise. Okay. So I'm hesitant to say that is necessarily wrong. And he might have said, they banned out this one champ that I was really aiming for. Let's just see what they pick. Right. And then I'll react. That's possible too. So I'm not buying that was a misplay.
I'm glad you're kind of with me on that one, because I didn't feel, that it was this egregious error. Some people felt very strongly about that, which surprised me. And maybe these are people who know the matchups better than I do, because I'm not looking at Rise like, oh, LeBlanc kills Rise every time. I'm not thinking that, but
right.
So, these people this may be a case where I'm a silver player and they're not,
right. Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't seem that big of a deal to me. And I felt like they were almost protecting him by getting that counter pick. Now I understand some things are off the table. You went through 2 rounds of bans and you went through all the picks. I get that. But yeah, just like, as long as he feels comfortable on something, like,
right.
I don't really see the problem. Now, hopefully that is indeed what happened for him, and not him being forced to play something that he didn't want to. But that's neither here nor there, and we'll probably never know. As far as this game goes against Evil Geniuses, first of all, a Monday night game, which is weird.
Yeah.
It was fine, but it was weird. I would like to have them on Sunday, I think, personally, but whatever. Another day of the week. Yeah. Right, yeah. Where it's more manageable to watch. Story of the game for you. What are some of the things that you keyed in on?
I mean, this is one of those like cursed games where you hate to see it go against us because of Bang, because they're talking big talk. I have general thoughts on Olaf as a champion. And we've already talked about the dragon thing. I don't know. I think limits of Ssumday as our carry player were evidenced in this game.
Save that one.
Yeah. So there's a lot of kind of disparate things that I don't feel like it ties together super well. I think really what this game was, if I had to boil it down to one thing, I think EG executed it really well. Like, there were a lot of good plays we made that were trumped by better plays they made. They drafted a composition that had a lot more global threat, global presence. The executional demand was higher. Like, you need to hit your Mortalts. You need to hit your Tom Kenschultz. These things have to come through. LeBlanc has to be able to pop off, right? There's a lot of things they could have done. If they didn't play it well, they would have looked pretty silly. So I'm willing to give them a lot of credit in this game. And I don't know if this is just us expecting, based on game 1, that they weren't up to it, that they wouldn't be able to execute this game, especially given how the Academy game went right before it with some of the same players.
Academy game was clean for 100 Thieves.
Yeah. So who knows what it is. But I think they played well. And if they can continue to play like that, I think they will be a dangerous team for sure this split.
Now, I'm just throwing this out there. I don't think it's really what I believe, but part of me wonders, like, we know going into this weekend, Meteos had said he was really sick. Like, he tweeted that out.
Yeah.
Was it that simple? I mean, you look at what happened here. You draft the Olaf. When you have the Olaf, you're going for the early game like domination, right? Like that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
whole point, because if the game
Right.
goes too long and you didn't pop off enough and you didn't get everybody else leads, well, Olaf doesn't do a whole lot for you later, right?
Right.
And that didn't get executed in this game either. It wasn't quite the horrifying early game that the game one is, but it's just 2 games in a row where Meteos didn't execute in the jungle. And is it as simple as the guy was just out of it and had a rough time playing?
Could very well
I don't
be.
know. Like I said, I don't know if I buy into
He wasn't
that.
so sick that he couldn't steal the Elder, which crucially.
But he was sick enough that he tried it.
That's right. He's sick in the head.
Yeah.
Uh,
But so again,
it could be. He felt like a non-factor.
This goes right into the disclaimer, right? Where he felt like a non-factor except for him winning that game single-handedly in game one. But you know what I mean? For all other moments of the weekend besides that, yeah, it was pretty dismal. I mean, did we get a gank in game 2 from Meteos? No. I'm not sure we got a lane gank.
I don't think we did. I thought about this, Cole. I'm cautious that this may be okay. So there's 3 possibilities. One, he's sick and he's not playing as he normally does, right? Not everybody can be Michael Jordan with his flu game. That's not the standard for when you're sick. It doesn't make you better by default. So here's how I think. We spent so much time last season talking about, like, have we tried ganking bot lane? Somebody send a pajama
He
gram.
said it, guys. He said it.
To headquarters and it suggests that they gank bot lane. I think this may fall into the category of oversimplification, right? The same as it is with Ssumday on top lane. And well, have we just thought about putting him on a carry? I think we all have a tendency to oversimplify these things. There's reasons that this stuff doesn't happen. I'm not trying to defend anybody or fanboy here. I am open to the possibility that he didn't gank for reasons other than what is immediately apparent to us.
Sure.
I don't know off the top of my head what those reasons would be. It just seems so out of character, right? This is not like what he usually does. So I don't know. He seemed sick in this game because he just didn't play his style. He didn't play Olaf like most people do, which is you show up at level 2 and just run it, folks. Like that's kind of a the formula there. So I don't know, man. It's weird. I feel like this is probably a blip rather than the norm.
Yeah.
Right? Is that the feeling you left with? Like, this was weird, right?
Yeah, especially because he had such a strong last split.
Yeah.
He looked great, and it just didn't feel right during this weekend. So that was kind of one of the big storylines for me. Like, sometimes you go back and get the full story on things, and it can be something as simple as that. It really can. It's quite possible. Another thing for me, a story of this game, and you alluded to it earlier, but before we even loaded into the Rift, I put a note down. I said, there's a 90% chance Bang plays against us the way he never played with us. And I was basing that on my my real or not real, depending on who you ask, curse in sports and esports with people I watch. That's just how it tends to play out for me.
Yes.
All right.
You get the star
Woe
player.
Is me.
They don't work. You trade them. They destroy you.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, I was trying to think of a game where Bang went 6-0 for us, which might have happened once.
Right.
I'm not sure, but right out of the gate, on a new champion, this dude just ran over us. He just steamrolled us.
Now, let the record show, if you follow the Balance team on Twitter, and their very official Excel sheet, Senna ADC is in the nerf column. So he did have the advantage of playing a champion that everybody acknowledges is pretty broken in that role. Like, we saw a lot of Senna play over the weekend. I didn't watch all the games, but I saw Senna a lot. Kind of surprised. Probably just didn't get banned as much because of Felios as a champion too. But
and the win rate wasn't that great. It was on
was
the
it
weekend,
not?
it was 3 and 5. So at this point, it was 2 and 5.
So here's the thing, though. Like, I think the play, it was around the Baron pit, and it's really where Bang kind of sealed the game, and it just is double kill, triple kill. And I just kept getting lower in my seat. It's like, no, make him stop.
It's happening.
It's happening. No, it can't be real. The first kill he got, he had rapid fire cannon. He had all his soul stacks. He just walked up and autoed it. Like, not to besmirch the ADC role, that was the easiest professional kill anyone has ever pulled off. It was one auto, and it was probably about a third of a health bar. And and then he went on to actually use his kit. But it's like, that's the champion, man. And there's no, it was Cody-san. It's when Cody-san got instantly deleted. He got hit by one thing.
Yeah, it was like so quick. I didn't even really process it.
He was not in the fight. It sucked to be Cody in that situation. No fault of his. He got hit by something and then something else immediately. Boom. You wouldn't even know to flash because your health bar was full 1 second and you blinked your eyes and it was gone. But that felt bad, man. That was the way the game went eventually. There's no way you can stop that.
Yeah. So that's sad. We've learned what it feels like to be on the other end of This Is Bang.
Yeah.
Again, and I just want to point this out, Stunt. There was a time when Stunt tried to engage around mid lane, like, and no one was there for it. Like, no, like, I think he made his own call there because it didn't seem like he had any support whatsoever. He dove right in and was immediately popped.
Deleted. Cole, I've made that play on Thresh so many times, and I don't tell you what I'm doing before I do it.
Yeah, but here's what this is how I perceived it as I watched it. Because, it's like sometimes if you're watching someone play something that you've played, you can almost like feel what they're feeling in some respects.
Ooh, I see it. Yeah.
So in this particular play, he had popped his ulti, right? And he did it a little late, and so he wasn't going to get in there for it without taking drastic, possibly suicidal measures. And I think he was getting to the end of that and feeling the pressure and knowing that the ult is about to expire. And he's like, I gotta get one or else I just wasted my ult. I legitimately think in a split second, that's how it materialized. It was like, I gotta get one or else I wasted this.
Right.
Especially because he's someone who prides himself on mechanics, right? Like he prides himself on like having very nice mechanics. So it's like to waste an ult is embarrassing on the pro stage. And it just felt like he really wanted to get just the charm on one person so he can say it was worth it and then jump back, and it did not work. And it cost us Infernal Soul. And in my opinion, cost us the game. And there, again, other things were going on, but it's like the game can turn on a single play.
Jiizuke was still in the game.
Bad one. That was a bad one.
Yeah. That was a bad one. There's another one in River. I think he was chasing after Jiizuke, just straight up missed his grand entrance. Like maybe guessed which way he was going to go. It looked so bad. It was a bit like a wide margin miss. And I understand when you're playing against LeBlanc, right? She's shifty. She moves around unpredictably. It just looked bad. And that as a player, again, like you said, right? You're on the big stage. You're in the Baron pit, popping up the lily pad, right? Like, that's not the one you're aiming for.
Right.
So I think, and going back to what I was talking about earlier, I think that is for me the part of his game that he's got. Like lane phase wasn't an issue really, at least so far as I saw. Like they kept close. It wasn't like, oh, we have a problem, Cole. And I know what this is the bot lane episode, right? Like that wasn't it. It was more transitioning to middle of the game, team fight phase, some of these key objectives. Like there were some plays there where I was like, yep, all right.
Yeah, and we shouldn't gloss over that. There were a couple odd things where you could tell the team wasn't on the same page. Like there was a TP in, was it Ssumday who TP'd in to nothing to mid lane? Like it was late, and I think even when he hit TP, it was obviously already over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't like, oh, they just backed off by the time he actually TP'd. It was, no, as soon as he hit that, it was already not a good TP. People going opposite directions during team fights and stuff. It just did not seem well put together. Which is,
I mean, that stuff that comes with time, right?
Week one.
That comes with time.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The contrast is this team that we played against, Evil Geniuses, they looked well coordinated. They looked well grooved. They were using their ults and their global presence incredibly well. And there were multiple plays that they stopped us just because of those same things that we were having more trouble with. So yes, you allow for a grace period, you allow for a ramp up, and for people to kind of settle into the team. The best teams get there more quickly, and that's when I look at this EG roster on paper, I'm like, that's a solid squad. Like they've got good players. So that's kind of what I worry about, right? There are a lot of teams that on paper are very good. Our task this split is probably harder than it was last split in a lot of ways, because I do feel like a lot of the teams have solidified kind of in the middle of the pack. So that's nervy.
Yeah, it is. This is reminding me, I should have said this earlier, but we had a listener question from Twitter user Kronos. He said, player-wise, I think mistakes were made during the games, but both games this weekend were close gold-wise until Elder in first game and Baron in second game, which is overall decent. One thing I think has plagued 100T is communication on when to make a play. Do you agree? And I think that's the evidence. We really saw that in game 2. In game 1, it almost felt like we didn't have much opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And in game 2, when we actually could try and make plays, it just didn't seem to go smoothly. So again, communication, new team. Some teams are going to learn it quicker than others. But hopefully, I think part of the point of bringing back the players we got is not just because we believe in them to be good players, but we believe that they already built something together. And so they have a jump start on the communication portion of things. And man, I hope that corrects itself quickly is, I guess what I'll say. So
we certainly need it too. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I want to, if you're okay with it, if we close the talk on that one game and just talk about some general things.
Yes.
Something I wanted to bring up is back to Ryoma. Now, everyone knows that this is a new guy that we're going to have to be cautious about evaluating. But the thing I was really surprised at was how much everyone seemed to be calling for one specific thing for him, and that was like, put him on a super aggressive champion like LeBlanc. He needs to be on that, and then we're good. And it's kind of a weird philosophy to me, so I wanted to bring it up, say my piece on it, and then get your take to tell me if I'm just being stupid. Because heaven knows being stupid is not a new thing for me. But look, it's like okay, say that's true, which it probably is. There's probably truth to it that Ryoma enjoys and excels playing when he's able to make aggressive plays with assassins. Okay, like that when we did our research on him, that was something that I brought up that I noticed. Okay, cool. Why do we assume, first of all, that is magically going to make everything go well, and second of all, that we are going to have that opportunity to put him in that sort of situation in every game? It's not like you can play the exact same thing every time. And if he pops off on a group of assassins, okay, what do you give him? 2 games, 3 games before everybody just bans everything away from him?
Yeah.
So you can't just have that one facet to his play. And that I think is concerning to me. I want to see more out of the lane phase from him. And to me, it feels erroneous to be just saying, put him on LeBlanc, we win. GG easy. Am I off?
I've thought about this too. I've already mentioned once Viper on Riven. We got to see what he can do. I think that
Why did they let it through again, man?
They wanted the fans to be happy.
Gosh.
I was just thrilled watching that.
Idiotic.
I mean, it is kind of one of those things where it's like you're playing against an all-time great 3-point shooter, and you just decide to guard him like 10 feet back, right?
Yeah,
he hit 33s. What?
I don't know if you listened to the like Jat has a new podcast now. It's like the Josh Leesman Experience, and he had Prawley on there, and they brought this up, and he asked me, he's like, so when you were coaching Country Thieves, did Viper ever play Riven against you? And he goes, we had a coach who wouldn't let him play it. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, you just hit the ban button and you're good.
Right. So that's kind of exactly how I feel about this. Let's say that so what's the value that Viper brings to his team, right? Let's say that they brought him in because he was so good at Riven. And then everybody's like, yo, put him on Riven. Like, put him on Riven, dog. You got to pick the champion. So either he gets banned out or you pick him, right? Most teams, barring certain exceptions, ban him straight away. They just don't want it. They don't want to risk it. What that does is it essentially means enemy team has 2 bans in the first phase because one of them is Riven every time. So that's huge. That can't be understated because if the game is in a state where there are 3 champions who are broken, guess what? You get free one of them. The enemy team can no longer address all of the meta concerns that are out there because they're forced to ban out your game-breaking pocket pick. Now, there's another piece to this. Let's say that you have 2 people on your team who have champions like that you really don't want them to have, right? You've got to prioritize now. So, like, maybe you really don't want to see Ssumday's Urgot again, if Urgot were still in the meta, after that 2v1 he pulled off, right? And the way he's kind of taken over some games. So you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The job of drafting against us becomes so much more difficult.
Sure.
I think that there's value in if he can play those champions at a level approaching a problem for teams, over time we start you introduce those to the mix, right? Of course you do.
But what you're saying doesn't disprove my point, because I'm saying if that happens, they are forced to ban that champion. Okay, that means he's not playing that champion, so he has to play something else.
Exactly. Still. Yeah, you cannot be a one trick in the LCS. Right. That doesn't work. You have to be good at many things. Viper is, and that's why Viper is a good player, because he is. So I think the balance you want to hit there is you don't want to not play those champions because you need to demonstrate that you can play other stuff, right? Like if they let it through and you can punish them, great, do it, punish them.
Yeah.
The team is the only ones who know the degree to which they feel like they can punish people, right? If his Yasuo is as broken as Viper's Forgiven, yeah, pick Yasuo, do it, right? Even if it's like, comp-wise, we didn't get Gragas, but yeah, okay, just do it and see what happens. Like, and I think that for me is a little bit of, especially if you have a developmental player, if you can develop them into the terror that some of these players are on certain champions over time, that's a benefit to your whole squad. Like your whole team gets a buff on that. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing. So while we're on this topic, by the way, I mentioned a lot of people were talking about it on Reddit, and we actually two of the listener questions or takes that I pulled address this. Bamatide88 said, I think Ryoma should be on Assassins. The reason he had success on Ryze and Osh was more on how bad the region is. Tasio Salad said, hot take, let Ryoma play the aggressive mid laner like he did in Osh, because I feel like that's more his playstyle, and see if it works out. Maybe even give him the LeBlanc instead of letting his opponent laner get it. So to me, these things, it's like, I don't think they're necessarily wrong. I just think that they are a setup to future, if you get the max benefit of that is you get a free pick, because they have to ban something out from you. But that's the thing. It just doesn't avoid the problem to me. And one thing that I'll also point out, and sorry, people are here, they heard a crazy noise, I think came from your mic somehow. I heard it too, and it was shocking. And now chat can't stop talking about it. I apologize for that. We'll see if that comes through on the audio version for the pod. But I wanted to highlight a comment in Twitch chat from Dr. LOL. He said his Akali, which is the type of champion people want Ryoma to play, who is also his 3rd most played champ playing in Osh with the best team in Osh, he had a 28% win rate on it. So is this just the new version of the Ssumday conundrum, where it's like, oh, just put him on a carry champ and we win? Well, it's like, oh, we actually had way more success with him on tanks.
Yeah, right. It could be.
Too early to tell. Too early to tell. Small sample size theater, everyone.
Yeah. With the sample size we have, if there was some thought in the team of like, maybe we grab LeBlanc, it's open, it's available, and they decided not to because they weren't, like, it's possible that was a bad call. That's certainly a possibility, right? If that's a champion he's had success with, we've seen him pop off on that champion, right? We've seen him pull off crazy plays with LeBlanc. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, you can go for it. I hope that we get to see him play some of these more aggressive champions, just because that's the way his mind works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. And you can play Ryze aggressively. That's a champion who,
Sure.
you get him in the side lane and you get him strong. Good luck taking him on, right?
Yeah.
Like, especially if it's somebody who is minded to go for a kill, right? So there are ways to play these champions who aren't assassins aggressively, and I think hopefully over time we see that that's the kind of player he is, right? If you're going to go after him in the side lane, send two, and that's an advantage as well.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts on Ryoma before we move to Cole's surprising take of the day?
I want to hear the surprising. I've been waiting for this.
Okay.
Pins and needles.
And I said take of the day, but it's more like this. I get the feeling that this is going to be my thing, this split, like that I talk about often. And that's this. And I hate to say it. You hate to say it. Okay.
I hate to hear it. Maybe. Let's see.
Do you remember when Ssumday explained to you why he picked his name?
To me?
To you. Sorry. When he explained why his name is Ssumday. Sorry, not to you directly, Jordan.
The time I talked to Ssumday.
Yeah, when you were growing up together and he chose his league summoner name.
And I said, that's a good name. You should go with that. I do remember hearing the story. The details are foggy to me.
Well, the basic concept, right, is that he wanted to be the best in the world someday, right? When is Ssumday like now? Because let me tell you this dude is suspiciously quiet. Okay, and he went ham in Academy. Okay, and he did great, and he carried us to an Academy championship. And then multiple times during both of these games during the weekend, I was like, Ssumday's awfully quiet right now. And he did land one or two key barrel chains on Gangplank. Okay.
Yeah. And a good ult in there somewhere that hard to gauge the effectiveness of those sometimes, but yeah.
Sure. But if he's our monster carry champion who has potential to be the best top laner in the league, like when is that gonna actually be something he does? Like, he's not carrying us right now. In game 1, he sucked up so much CS and then wasn't able to like do a ton with it. In game 2, like, can you name me something Ssumday did in the game off the top of your head?
He didn't. So here's the hope in game 2 is that he hits some of these like grouped up Qs that delete the team. We've seen those on Aatrox. But is there more to your take? I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
I'll jump back in 2 feet.
Here's my thought, and I'm recognizing that some people in chat are saying this. Some people are saying, Falcon Hero saying, what are you supposed to do in top? I think the position of top really is at a place where it's hard to carry as a top laner. I think that's true. Sometimes you play Riven and you can do it.
I was gonna say, tell that to Viper.
Yeah. There are parts of this I agree with you on. There are parts that I think are beyond any human's control. The shy probably being an interesting test case, right? Ssumday did a good job of building a lead for himself in a game where we were basically just holding on everywhere. He had a CS lead. He was generating pressure. He was splitting. He was kind of the only one doing making a positive impact on the overall map state and the overall game. I just think that I've heard other people say this. I think that the ability of a player to 1v9 is lower now than it's been in the past. I think that that's part of this. You can no longer split push, right? Like, you can no longer AFK split push. Because if you do and you lose the soul, you lost the game. So it can no longer be like, well, they've got 4 Drakes, but guess what? We knocked their inhib down because we've just had Ssumday down there. Boom, boom, boom. They keep sending guys to get the Drakes. It's just a cloud Drake. Okay, more movement speed. Good for you, right? The game's different now. You have to do these team fights. And I think that the ability of Ssumday to take over a team fight when he is really our only threat, especially if he's just 1v1ing Mordekaiser in the Death Realm, is basically non-existent. The the window of opportunity you have to get into the back line and hit the squishies is gone if you're in a different instance of League of Legends playing a different game against a dude who's just building armor.
But look, dude, first of all, I want to clarify because Twitch chat is going off. Look, I'm not saying I don't think Ssumday is good. And I'm not saying I don't love him. I love this guy. But yeah, it's just, I feel like he needs to be showing up in a bigger way. Now I see what you're saying, but it's like, look, someone pointed out in chat, he was up 1,500 gold at 30 minutes on Kumo. Okay. All right. What did we do with that? What did we do with that lead in that game? Absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? And this has been a recurring thing, is that Ssumday gets the lane lead or doesn't lose his lane, but is very rarely able to turn it into something big. And the last time we saw him really doing that was like spring 2018, right? Like, have we really seen it since then? I don't think so.
I'm going to ask you a question that's a little unfair because it's expecting a lot of you. Are there other top laners who you see performing differently, like in a more influential way than Ssumday? Like, is there somebody out there where you say like Ssumday should play more like X player?
More like Viper on Rift? No, look, it's too early to make that call. And I don't think there's no credibility to everyone saying Licorice. Nah, I don't even think Licorice recently has been playing that way. Even though he's good. But yeah, I think that there is credibility to what you're saying about top lane and what top lane is right now, but there's still, like, I don't know, there's still just more that we need to get out of him if he's able to carry this team. Because who else is going to do it? Like, junglers are enablers right now. Like, they can't go around the map and just kill everybody themselves, right? They have to enable another lane. Ryoma, the other solo laner, is a developmental project for us right now, so it's not going to be him. And Stunt and Cody Center having a little bit of a rough start. You know what I mean? It's like, it's got to be him. It's got to be this veteran. It's got to be this crazy high-rated import player. So it's like this whole thing that I'm saying, it's not like, oh, okay, bench Ssumday. I'm saying this is a challenge that, like, if I was the coach, if I was Papa Smithy, if I was Zix, I would be challenging him to step it up. Okay?
Yeah.
He did fine in game one. I don't think he did anything like super insane in game one. But he played very well. 5-2-6. Ryoma was 4-1-9 though. Cody was 4-1-7. You know what I mean? And then in game two, it was like, I literally can't name anything that comes to mind that he did.
I have a specific memory of looking at the scoreboard and saying like, wow, 0-0-0. That is a long time into this game to have basically kind of sat on the sidelines. Right. Which, as a top laner, not myself, I know that's kind of one of the ways you can feel is like, wonder what's happening in this game. Beats me. Like, I'm just up here doing my thing, getting my farm, and I knocked down the turret, but maybe that doesn't really even matter too much either. So I know what you're saying, Cole. It gets back to the carry question. What job do we give him?
Yeah.
You know, Aatrox can be a carry champion. We've seen it happen. I think it's a really hard champion to carry with if you're, and I think, honestly, I think you just become an int machine if what you're doing is going into these fights trying to rack up as many kills as you can. You get CC'd and you're dead, right? You like, there is no other escape tool. If you're Aatrox and you are locked in place and Senna's in the game over. You're done. Like, there is no option for you. So I don't know, man. I know what you're saying. I wish it were the case. I would love to see Ssumday, like, he's played games where on Gangplank where we've seen him hit barrel chains that kill teams.
Yeah.
That happens.
And he had a solid Gangplank game in game one.
Yeah. But it wasn't the game where you're like, oh, Ssumday has officially taken over the game. You can call it. It's done. And he won. Right.
Yeah.
The rest of the team maybe tried to lose it, but he pulled it back and he won it, and that's it. Yeah. Didn't happen. I don't know if we'll see it. It's an interesting thing to keep an eye on.
So I'm going to add this, like, at the beginning of the season, to me, there were 3 storylines, like major storylines that are going to be like the story of this split for us. And I'm going to add this to it. So for me now, it's 4 things. It's this: Ssumday, will will he be his old self again? Will he be able to carry the team in tough places? Will he be able to lead us to victory? There's the return of our old players, how that goes with Meteos and Cody-san. There's Ryoma, the developmental project. And then there's the like, is this the year where we know Stunt should or should not be an LCS? Those are the main storylines that I'm watching for the whole split. I didn't expect to have Ssumday on this list, but I think I'm going to go there and put it there, and until he removes it, until he steps up and like convinces me without a doubt, I'm always going to, kind of have my eye on that.
Let me put a sub condition on that storyline, which would be, if we can get the rest of our team working in the way that we want them to, are we okay if he's not the best in the world, right? Like, is it okay if he's just reliably very good, builds a lead, and is somebody who can contribute in an outsized way in team fights? Like, think about how different the Aatrox game looks if what he's doing is just sweeping through a team that is disoriented and scattered because half of them are charmed, and Olaf doesn't really give you much other than to just run at people and make them scared. But like, the tenor of that game could be very different. And if Aatrox shows up to the party and the table is set, he feasts. That was not the situation at all. So, not that we should count on that, but that's a position that he can. That's a job he can do. No questions asked.
Yep.
Maybe that's enough.
Well, let's do this. Let's hit a couple of news items for 100T and then wrap this thing, because we're already hitting that time.
A lore obligation as well. It's February.
Oh no, it's not. February. It's January 28th. Don't jump the gun, my friend. Look, I got ahead of myself. I've got this thing right here. It's right by my computer. I don't want it to be in my house. In fact, I wanted to set it on fire, but it's not February yet.
Sorry, y'all. I got ahead of myself. Sorry to get you excited.
So just briefly to say, put a couple things out there. First of all, as odd as it seems, because now this feels like a permanent part of me, but the 100 Thieves Cash App compound was revealed just like a week ago now. And it is absolutely insane. I am sure that everybody who's watching this has already seen the video. Go watch it again. It's incredible. Yeah. Loved seeing it, and loved the reveal video too. It was fun. Yeah. It was like corny at times in the right way. Had awesome cameos. The Oak Boys cameo broke my heart. Yeah. Seeing those COD banners hanging, like, oh my gosh, what an amazing thing. What a sad thing. Filled with so many conflicting emotions. But yeah, and who knows? Maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get a chance to see that beautiful building someday. Also, another big piece of news was 100X, which is the 100 Next program. The new League of Legends team for 100 Thieves, which is like the amateur group, right? Made up of kids who are mostly still in school, right?
Yeah, 3 high schoolers. Cole, what I'll say on this is, if you Google 100 Next, you get some weird results.
Oh, I don't want to now.
I don't think it's not adult content, but it's like a weird pyramid scheme, perhaps, or some kind of anyway.
Yeah.
But as we get established, 100 Next, the official, will climb the SEO on that.
Yeah. I'm actually super excited about this. To me, it feels like 100 Thieves is planting a flag and saying, like, look, everybody knows that we need to do more to support NA talent. This is our version of that. What are you going to do? Right. That's kind of what it feels like to me. And it's cool to have, young guys who are associated with the team in some amateur way, because why not? You know what I mean? Like, why not? Like, this is just giving them a cool platform. Like, why not? And if it turns into something cool for the 100 Thieves, awesome. And if it doesn't, it's still a goodwill look for the org who, materially are doing something to try and address that problem. So,
right. All of those people out there saying there's not enough happening to develop NA talent. I mean, Papa Smithy comes out and says, 13 of the 15 people who play for 100 Thieves, who play League of Legends for 100 Thieves, NA talent. So there you go. All those people who say there's not enough systematically happening to develop this talent, there you go. Like, everybody else will be playing catch up to this, which is absolutely the position you want to be in. Whether they decide to not do it or whether they decide to do it, we're going to be able to say like, yep, we set that example.
Yeah. So very cool program, and I hope that we hear more about it. So far, the only thing we really know is that they're going to be playing weekly in the Upsurge Premier League, which starts next week, and I believe did I hear Tuesdays?
Tuesday, I think
Tuesday
7
evenings, something like that. So
7 Central.
Hopefully 100 Thieves tweets about it, and we'll try and tweet about it as well. And who knows? I enjoy watching Academy. I know not everybody does, but I do. So I'd probably like watching some of that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and then one final thing, Jordan, I'll let you take this one because this will be, I think, your recurring baby. You know, you guys know we had probably watched last split.
Yes,
Jordan's got his own possibly recurring segment.
We'll see. TrustThePapa. #TrustThePapa. It's not, Cole. This is not intended to be the continuation of Probably Watch. The context is very different. The fact that we might return to a common theme is the same. That's the only thing that's the same. But Cole, I want to know, at this point, this is a project. We've been talking about it. That's why we made TrustThePapa. Are you feeling like, are you still, Cole, trusting the Papa? Has anything happened that would make your trust change or waver?
So it's like the meter. How much are we trusting the Papa, right?
Yeah.
So overall, again, small sample size theater. It's week 1. So there's I don't feel it's appropriate to make any sweeping generalizations about the team. I'm concerned about the Drakes. That's all I'll say. But that, it's early. It's not, we're not in a position where Trust the Papa is being shaken for me at all.
I'm with you. I want to see more. I'm just excited to see more. I mean, honestly, part of the excitement really is, watching the team find out who they are, kind of have their identity congeal, decide how they want to play this game. I hope that the way they play it is not to just sack all Drakes. That doesn't seem to be working. Let's move on to the next strategy. But I think at this point, I'd say I'm super excited to keep watching Ryoma. I think he's going to be a fun player to watch. And I'm not at the point where I feel like, boy, somebody sold us some snake oil here, Cole. I think he's the real deal, and I think he can play. I think it's going to be fun to watch him.
Yeah. So I'm very excited to see how this plays out. Like the 100x thing, I think is part of the Trust the Papa thing for me. It's like, yeah, man, I trust that. That's cool. Let's do it. So there's we're just bringing this up to say this will probably be a thing that we refer to in the future, and we'll be looking forward to hearing from you guys on how you feel about that as well. So,
yep.
All right, that will do it for tonight. Look, our first podcast back at it, man. We're back in the real deal, thick of things, thick of the split.
Yeah. The standard edition, Cole. This is our bread and butter. This is what we got started with. Many of you probably know us for other stuff we've been filling the off season with, but we're back to the season, so we're going to keep doing this. I will say, if you are somebody who has either not seen this show and has come around for Rec League, which is a show we do on Thursdays usually, one or the other, right? If you found us through one or the other, keep showing up on Mondays, hang out, talk to us about the games of the weekend. If you don't know what Rec League is and you want to play some League with the people you've been hanging out with in chat, or if you're listening to the podcast and you think, oh, okay, there's some cool people who like 100 Thieves, show up, watch us live, tune back in on Thursdays, typically, not this week, but usually, where we just get together, cast some games. This is the true amateur games network, and we bring all kinds of people together to play some League and have a good time.
And it always is a good time.
Always is.
All right. As a reminder, we're going out to LCS this weekend. We're making the brave journey out to Los Angeles to see these things in person and bring the much celebrated 100 Talk buff to the team directly. We will 2-0. We will have a good time, and there will be some beautiful content. Thank you to everyone who donated to help us make this trip possible and make it extra special. Seriously can't believe it still. the crazy amount of donations we got. We'll live up to it, we promise. And we're looking forward to the trip, and look forward to speaking with you guys soon on the next time. So, as always, we love you and we miss you already.